know the vibes out on this side.
Team has closed 489 deals, totaling 311 million in volume. And in 2025 alone, she closed over 200 deals for over 150 million. So how do you train speed without sacrificing your quality? You've had to let go of some close people and you went through that. How do you do that without losing your heart and losing yourself?
It's hard. I ended up in the hospital twice.
Wow. So how does that finance brain, your background in finance, how does that affect when you speak to clients now? What do you do differently that most realtors don't do?
I have a clear memory. I'm at a bar, I'm ordering a beer, and I'm in my head counting how much money I have left after that beer cost. And I couldn't even enjoy the beer.
All right, TruTalks family. Today we've got a real volume queen in the building. Joanna Jimenez is the founder of the Opes Group, a Miami powerhouse built on systems, speed, and real leadership. Over the last 2 years, her team has closed 489 deals, totaling 311 million in volume. And in 2025 alone, she closed over 200 deals for over 150 million. So if you ever wondered how someone produces at that level without chaos, she's the blueprint. Joanna is known for moving fast, communicating nonstop, and building a culture where the client experience stays dialed in from first call to closing. She's not here to talk hype, she's here to talk process. Please welcome Joanna Jimenez.
Thank you, Luis.
You're welcome. And today is special for me to have you here, Joanna, because I have built a relationship with you since 2018. And I don't know if you know this, but you were actually, when I started my business and I started visiting offices in 2018, you were the first agent to ever let me have a presentation.
Oh,
and when
wow.
I showed up at your office, at that Blue Lagoon office in 2018 with the book that I had read, you were the first person to ever give me an opportunity. And I saw you there with your humble beginning, and I was in my humble beginning. And today, seeing those numbers is mind-blowing, and seeing where you've gotten to today. And these are the type of people that I want to have here on this podcast to come and show what you've done, how you've done it, and not only showcase your glory, but to come here and talk about the story. And I know that when you were 16 years old, you had a brain surgery. How did that change your outcome or your outlook in life?
So at 16, having a brain surgery, what I remember is I had no fear going in, but I recall that I just had to live a life of YOLO. You only live once. And I think that has helped me throughout to where I am today of take the risk, take the shot, do things because you never know.
I know that as a teenager, that must have been very difficult to know. I mean, I have the thought, if I have a thought of a surgery, it scares the heck out of me. But instead of letting that take you down, you let it propel you to advance you to where you're at today. It was like a wake-up call that a lot of teenagers sometimes need when they don't know where to look at in life. And we know that life is short. What do you refuse to waste your time on?
Great question. So what do I refuse to waste my time on? And I think it's anything that sets me back, drains me. So I'm always looking for things that are going to help me in every aspect of life, right? So is it going to make me healthier, make me stronger, make me a better mom, maybe a better human? I only read self-improvement books, to give you an example. I don't read, novels or all these other things. So I barely watch TV, and if I do, I'm watching a documentary or a book, a movie that's gonna touch me or teach me things. So I don't know. I think I'm a student of life in that aspect of where I don't have time to waste on just sitting and watching TV. I'd rather be doing something to keep getting better.
No, that's so good. Always focusing on edifying yourself and growing. And I think that as we get older, especially with the experience you went through with having that brain surgery, it kind of set you apart and made you focus on where you need to go in life and realizing that we don't have time to waste on things that don't edify us. Me personally, I know that I do not like to waste my time on people who are not aligned in the same vision as me. I have friends or colleagues or people that I know, not really colleagues, that they're not thinking the way that I'm thinking. They're not thinking about being a good dad. They're not thinking about being a good husband. They're not thinking about those things. So I always try to align myself with people that have that same vision, because I know that the Bible says that as iron sharpens iron, so another man sharpens another. So I believe you could either sharpen me or you can make me dull.
Yeah, I love that.
So I want to be around people that are always going to sharpen me.
Yeah, what's the saying? You are the people you surround yourself with, right?
Yes. Now, I want you to take us back to 2010. You mentioned that in 2010, you hit rock bottom financially. Tell us what that looked like.
I have a clear memory. I'm at a bar, I'm ordering a beer, and I'm in my head counting how much money I have left after that beer cost. And I couldn't even enjoy the beer. But more importantly, it made me realize I never, ever want to be in this position again, because you can't enjoy life if you're having to be counting every penny of your life. That's the reality. Like, there's no point to that. So that's like a vivid memory I have. And I think that's the rock bottom of my life. It was a time I was living in Connecticut. I was, paycheck to paycheck, but more importantly, that time at the bar, because like we're supposed to enjoy life. Like, it doesn't matter what age. You don't need to retire to enjoy life. Like, you should be enjoying life at every stage of your life. And you shouldn't be doing the simple things of having a drink with a friend or having a meal. So if you are having to have this stress because of money and you can't enjoy those small things, then you're never going to enjoy life. So I just think that was one of those moments that, like, I will never want to have lived through again, or have my kids ever live through again.
Of course, yeah. It's great that that's like a vivid memory after so many years, because that's the moment that it marked you. I remember I lived like the same thing, and I was going through a divorce, and mine actually happened in 2017. And I remember going through that divorce. I was living alone. I couldn't pay for the house where my ex-wife and my kids were living in. I couldn't pay for the car, because then I couldn't pay for myself. I got a car repossessed. And I remember like saying, you know what, I that marked my life. And I said, I need to lock in. I need to change forever. So I when you talk about that vivid memory, I have that vivid memory. I'll never forget in a building talking to my business partner on the phone and saying, dude, I need you. Let's do something together. I can't continue in this alone, or I'm going to fall. So that vivid memory is right there when you talk about it. And what did you promise yourself during that season that still drives you today?
Yeah, look, I grew up in my parents were very hard workers and gave us a very good upbringing. But I think I promised myself in that time, like, I could work really hard and outwork, to keep growing in life. My partner, my husband's been a great, even way more visionary than I am in that aspect. So I think, just you could keep getting better. You could keep growing. You know what I mean? And I think hard work definitely was the answer to the last many years. And now in the last few years is thinking smarter, outsourcing, leveraging, like all these other facts, that help you keep growing even more. What did I promise myself in that season is, you could work as hard as you can, is what I told myself then. And it's in fact what I've done for many years. I worked Saturdays for 7 years. Now after having children, I've stopped working Saturdays and Sundays. But I think, just that alone, I would work till midnight. So I worked really hard. That's the answer. And I don't think that's the answer I would recommend for everybody, but that's definitely how I got started. And I think that's how many of us get started, right? We just work really hard.
That's a great answer, Joanna. And I'm a big believer that hard work and effort will always trump talent. And I may not be the most talented. You may not be the most talented.
No, definitely not. I have a lisp. So,
but you're not going to outwork me. And you are a product of that. And I've seen it.
Yeah. I think we both grew up, raised our businesses together, have raised our careers together. So I think we're both, living proof of this.
Yes. And you didn't always start off as a realtor. You took the finance track. Can you tell us a little bit of your journey in the finance industry?
So I wanted to do finance, and while I was in college, I was doing real estate stuff, and the goal was to get into like the big firms, right? I graduated in 2009. I could barely land a job because of the economic situation. I end up in Connecticut at Prudential. And that was the downpour of my life. I end up afterwards working at Verizon, a 10-month contract doing marketing. And then I get to finally the finance job I wanted. I get to work at Morgan Stanley, private wealth management, all high net worth individuals. Wow. I get my licenses so I could trade. I learn a lot about the stock market, and you're working with like the CEOs of like top companies, and like these are the clients coming in, and I'm getting to do like all the things. So I like lived the dream of what I wanted back in college, and while there, I realized this is not what I want to do. The pay is great. Corporate America has a lot of advantages, but it just wasn't in me. And I knew I had to get back into real estate, but there was a part of me that was like, I just can't be a realtor. So as I got into this business more and more, I think I became prouder to be at a realtor and like, grow. But in the very beginning, it was almost like I was embarrassed to say I was a realtor for how sucky that sounds. But, I think once you make it and you establish yourself and you realize you are a top producer, you are a top realtor, like you're proud to say it.
Of course.
So I think anyone listening right now, don't do what I did. If anything, I've seen from all the realtors that joined the team, the ones who are proud to say they're a realtor succeed way faster than the ones that are embarrassed. So if there's any advice, is don't do what I did in that aspect.
Wow. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So
the ones that say they are proud.
Yeah. So, from running a real estate team with a lot of agents that have come in, what I would tell you is the realtors that come in proud, saying they're a realtor and tell all their family and friends, have so much more success than the ones that hide it. So don't do what I did. Embrace it, scream it everywhere, tell everyone, because your business will be so much more fruitful if you do in the very beginning than if you wait a few years.
Good. That was good. And Joanna, what did that world teach you about money that most agents don't understand?
So what did I learn about money while working at in the finance world? Two things. So one of them is you need to invest, and it's not only invest in real estate, you want to diversify, because real estate's not always the best time to sell. So you do want to diversify. I think a lot of realtors only invest in real estate. And then the other big thing I see a lot of realtors make as a mistake is they don't treat them as a realtor as a business. And I think that's what the number one mistake I see most realtors make. Like, they don't see themselves as business owners. And at the end of the day, they're running a business and they need to look at their numbers and their costs. And does this produce a return? Does this not? And the more often we could check, the more success you will have, right? I also think in terms of investing, a lot of realtors are like, oh, I invested for 2-3 months, I didn't see a return. And like, any business is going to tell you, you need to invest for like a year, sometimes 2 years, to then see, okay, is this producing a return or not? And sometimes it's a loss. I've lost thousands of dollars, trying things to see if it produces a result when it doesn't always. So my advice to any realtor would be, invest in your business for long term. So don't think of 2-3 months, think like a year of investing in whatever you want to focus on, and stay like laser focused. And it's easier said than done, because, there's always that shiny little thing saying this is working, or do this or do that, or you hear somebody saying they have success in YouTube and now you want to go to YouTube. So my advice would be like, stay laser focused, attempt things for 1 year, treat it like a business, check your numbers as often as possible. And this is after so many years of me learning the hard way, right? That I could share this now.
Yeah, it's so hard when you start making money to reinvest into your business. And I remember one of my mentors early on in life told me in Spanish, he said, Luis, la semilla no se come, la semilla se siembra.
Oh, I like that.
So your seed, you don't eat your seed, you plant your seed to later receive fruits, but you got to give it time. You got to stick around long enough to see that seed produce fruit. And you also mentioned that in our call that the corporate ladder was a turnoff.
Yeah.
And what was that turnoff, and what made you jump to real estate?
So I remember receiving an award for being the top sales associate in the career I was in finance. And I was like,
you were at the top in the finance.
Not top. I was like what I would say still an associate, like an assistant, high executive assistant, getting paid well. But anyhow, I got this award, and this award is like, oh, you were the best one out of like the region or of the country. I don't even remember what it was. Anyhow, I was like, great, what does this entail? And they're like, well, you will continue doing the same thing, but more money and a better title. And there wasn't a better turnoff that you could have given me. Just like,
really?
Okay, most people, I guess, would have been happy. A better title, more money. And that's for some reason, that was a turnoff for me. And I was like, oh, I just can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And then I looked around and I saw, okay, most of the people around me doing the things are older than me, and they're still doing the exact same thing I'm doing. And I think that was the turnoff. I think it was just seeing me doing the same thing for the next 20 years that turned me off. So I don't know. I guess maybe I have a little ADD. I don't know. Maybe it's just in me that I just can't do the same thing. But granted, a lot of my systems are doing the same thing. It's just with different people and different stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because my day is not monotonous. I'm not going to the same place every single day. That's part of what I like about real estate. I guess I haven't like thought deep into what it was, but I could tell you that personally was a turnoff, but it wasn't a turnoff for everybody. And I think that's where you have to determine, right? Is that something that works for you or not? Because it works for many people.
But you know what it is? If you want to keep a shark in your shark tank, you need to build a tank big enough to hold the shark. And that was the thing. They didn't build a tank big enough for you. They said, you're going to be doing the same thing, just making more money. And you wanted more. And it's so impressive because you're going from making a great salary, winning awards, to then jumping into real estate with
Zero.
no security, ramp up periods, you name it.
Yeah.
So the move that you made is really impressive, and it's great to know that about you. So how does that finance brain, your background in finance, how does that affect when you speak to clients now? What do you do differently that most realtors don't do because of that background that you have?
Yeah, so I think I come out more like a real estate advisor, and our team at the Opes Group, we all say we are real estate advisors because we're not looking, okay, yes, you want to buy your first home and it's emotional, but we're advising you on a lot more aspects than just that emotional aspect of that, playground and that pool that you're looking at. So we're looking, okay, is there future appreciation here? Like, is this really the best investment for you longer term? Because for us, the most important thing is the client relationship, like not just that one transaction.
Of course.
And I have told clients not to purchase properties because I know it's not going to be good for them.
Bam,
and I don't want to be receiving the call in a few years saying, why did you tell me to buy this, or why did I buy this? So I rather tell a client, I don't recommend you buy something than have to face it in a few years later. So I do think that finance brain, I worked more like a advisor in thinking of return, appreciation, like think of like a wealth, like we are helping you build wealth through real estate. And we do that by being your real estate advisor.
Yes, and I love when you said that you are a real estate advisor, not a real estate salesperson.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, I can care less if you buy it or sell it, because regardless, I know if we do what's best for you, you're going to be happier in the long term.
Of course. And then when you're talking to clients, you're not focused on get this house, which a lot of realtors do because I see it. What you're doing is, hey, is this house going to be good for you? Is it going to appreciate? What is this going to make you in the long run? And you're gaining people's trust there, and they're seeing the knowledge. And then now they're not looking at you as a salesperson. They're looking at you as someone who's an advisor.
Correct.
So you're being an advisor without telling them you're an advisor, which is phenomenal. I also know that your superpower, you mentioned it was speed.
Yes, I believe that's my superpower.
Okay, good. I like that I could relate with that. So tell me how you use speed to blow past your competition, because you clearly are.
I just implement really, really fast. So if I hear something and I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I'm focused on, this is something I should do, like I'm doing it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just putting it out there. I'm doing it. I'm starting. So while most people are asking 1,000 questions or waiting for it to be perfect, I'm like 3 steps ahead, and I've already been like, okay, this doesn't work. How can I make this better? This could improve a little bit better. So I think that's my superpower. It's speed. I implement really quickly. You go to a conference and you share advice, kind of like what we're doing right now. You're sharing advice.
Yes.
And they'll tell you only 10% will actually implement whatever is said. So I'm that 10%, but then I'm doing it like on the spot.
Of course. Good. And then what does that speed look like in your daily workflow?
So, we have a team, we have systems, we have processes. So like we are able to move so much quicker because we're leveraging each other. We're leveraging the systems and the people we have in place. So speed helps us, facilitate a transaction quicker. It helps us facilitate, if a client calls asking for something, we can get it to them quicker. So I just think speed is so important. Everyone is in an instant gratification world, and real estate's not instant. Nothing of it is instant. So if you can be part of a team that has already a system, that has a process, that we could get knowledge from each other, that's only going to help you go faster. And, right now we're with AI. Like AI is changing the speed of everything. So I think that's only going to be there to help us go even faster. Like,
yes, I remember you talk about AI and like speed. I remember when I was building out my CRM in 2017 that I had to type every single email, every single text. And now it's so easy that people still overthink. And sometimes you look at AI and you overthink. And talking about overthinking, what do top agents overthink that you just don't hesitate and execute on?
yeah, look, I think like the image going out there. So if you think of like a video being posted on YouTube or on social media, I think a lot of people want it to be perfect or want it to look a certain way. I don't know. I guess I don't overthink that aspect. I'm just like, it's fine. Like either they like you or they don't. It doesn't matter. Like what they want is the content. They're not going to be judging what you're wearing, how you look. My hair right now, that's not blow dried. So I just think don't overthink things. Just put it out there and move on. People are spending too much time on things that are not producing real results really quickly. You need to do like volume. And I'm not saying I do volume of anything of like social media world. I'm just saying don't overthink things. Stop overthinking, just put it out there.
I know that the biggest executors are people who don't overthink, who just jump into it. I'm somebody that, let me just jump into it and I'll learn the hard way.
Correct. I'll learn while I'm swimming.
I'll learn when I'm swimming. Yeah, don't give me the book. Don't give me the manual. Put that to the side. I'm jumping in there and I'm going to figure it out. And that's something that we have alike, and I love that.
I think it goes a long way. I see so many realtors, they ask 1,000 questions. Like, I don't want to ask 1,000 questions. Granted, my husband thinks I ask 1,000 questions. So I think out of like the normal person, I probably ask like 20% and I can make a result. I can already make a decision on 20%. But I have realtors that will ask 90% questions, you know, and then they're like in limbo. So I think, I don't know, just my advice would be move quicker.
That's it. The first one there. I'm a big time fisherman. And one thing they tell you is the early bird gets the worm. So as soon as that sun's coming out, I am running there fast and getting to the spots before somebody else goes to the honey hole and takes what's for me. And you got to do it the same way. Now, when you're training a team, speed is your strength and is your superpower, but it could also be dangerous if it's not put in the right hands of people. So how do you train speed without sacrificing your quality?
Yeah, so I think that's where systems is very important. So like I said, we are doing very similar things. It's just not in the same environment or in the same setting. So we shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. So we have a lot of templated, the process from a transaction to closing, no matter if it's a listing or a buyer, it's the same no matter the price. So we don't need to rewrite the emails every single time. There should be already a template of like, congratulations, we're working together. Congratulations, you're under contract. Here's a timeline. All these things should already be pre-templated, and we have that. So that way the client experience is not ever messed up because a misspelling or because of something along those lines. So I would say having templates and systems that's the point. And then who is the person responsible for this? So we have, for example, a transaction coordinator. They're responsible for everything to do with paperwork. So like if the realtor who's driving around all of town should not be sending an e-sign because they have more chances of messing up documents and writing addendums while they're driving versus the person that's at the desk that's doing this and making sure it flows. So, that's a simple system, and it sounds so simple, but we make sure there's less harm and less issues when the right person is the one handling it.
Of course. And then they're sending it in their car while they're driving. They're making mistakes. Yeah. They could get into a car accident. Then you also risk not being fast and not sending it at the right time. You have to put people to work for you. One of the biggest struggles that business owners have, because your agents are business owners, is letting go of control and trying to do everything on your own. As you know, I came into the inspection industry. My thing was speed. I remember that the inspection companies, you think of an inspector, you think of the guy with the clipboard with a big old camera here. And when we came into the industry, I said, immediate report delivery. I need to figure out how to send these reports on the spot before the inspector leaves the property. And that's one of the USPs that when we came in here, we are doing, and we use the same software that other inspectors use, and they still don't provide immediate report delivery.
I obviously, once I met you, I loved that because it went with my system, which was speed, right? So obviously TruView's been our go-to for many years. But I don't think there's another inspection company that's delivering, same day if I had to guess what's out there. Granted, I'm only working with you guys, but I don't think anyone's even out there trying to compete with you guys on that aspect.
And they have the same capability. But here's the thing. I could grab a football, and throw the same football that Tom Brady's throwing, but I'm never going to throw it like Tom Brady does.
Yeah.
So it's all about who's behind that person. But with that, people go and say, well, what about, I question the accuracy of your report because you're doing these reports, you're sending them immediately. So I question the accuracy of that. And you know what I say? I say, okay, when someone told me that one day, I said, well, can you tell me what you had for breakfast today? And the guy was like, oh. I said, exactly. So you're telling me that an inspector is going to go out on the field with his camera, take pictures of 3 properties and did 3 inspections that day. Then they get home, they deal with their kids, they deal with their wife, they have dinner, and at 10 o'clock at night, they sit down till 1 o'clock in the morning and write reports. You think they're going to remember what happened at that first inspection when you can't even remember what you had for breakfast that morning?
Yeah.
So I question the accuracy of the inspector who's doing an inspection and not delivering the report on the spot.
Yeah, and look, I think talking about reports and stuff, I think what's very important for all realtors to do is soon as the inspector is done with the report, like get the client on the phone or on FaceTime or in person with that inspector to go over the report. Because when you read something, especially when it has the words MOLD or, like these bad words in real estate, it seems way scarier on paper than asking the inspector, okay, so you found something. Can you tell me, and the realtor's job is to make sure to ask the right questions, right? So we don't want to say, oh, that's no big deal. Mold's not a big deal, or this is not a big deal. No, you want to ask, okay, so can you explain how can we, mitigate this? How much will it cost to fix this? Do you normally see this? And I think asking the right questions helps calm the buyer down and understanding, okay, this is something that's often seen, or this is a very low cost, or hey, look, this does need more work. Why don't we get a specialist of this to go find it? So I do think it's very important to go through that. And look, you don't know this, Luis, but I actually had to open your report for the house I purchased in November this week. So we're talking about December, January, February, 3 months later, because my husband was like, how did the inspection not find all of this? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And guess what? It was all in the inspection. The water heater was bad. It was just not one of the top things because there were so many other things that were in there.
Yeah.
So it was good to see, he did mention the water heater. He did mention this. And then we were here, he was already blaming you guys. And I was like, no, it was actually all on the report. we just didn't address it because it wasn't one of the major items when we were moving in. But I think it's important for everybody to keep that in mind, because sometimes buyers think oh, how didn't the inspector find this? But when it's a house or a big property, there's going to be things as we age, there's going to be more things, right? Of course. I think it's important to know that the older the property, the more things are going to be found, especially longer term. So I don't know if you have any advice to share with few months later, should we reopen these inspection reports, or should somebody else go out to fix this? Any advice on that aspect?
Look, that's a great question. And I'm glad you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, from the top producing volume queen here, Joanna. As soon as the inspection's over, you're getting your agent to call those buyers if they're not there and go over the report there and explain it, because it's different when you break the news to me before I see it on the inspection report. Now, a lot of people go and they look at the inspection report, and it tells you the major items, but it's a honey-do list. So I think that everything you see on the inspection report is kind of intertwined with other things, and you should address it. Now, obviously, not everyone has the financial capabilities to address everything on the spot, but you can't just put away your report, leave it in a dungeon, never go back to it. Look at it and start checking things off that list, little by little. And that way, you know that, okay, I took care of everything that the house has, because something that may be at the end of its life in a few months might be completely done with its life. And next thing you know, it starts leaking or the AC breaks. So, when you could go through that report and start planning those things and just tackle everything that's there on that list.
Yeah, so maybe we need to start printing it and providing it in a folder saying, look, and I tell you because we've bought a bunch of properties and we've done all our inspections with you. And obviously this is not the first time this happens. So, but I don't think it's correct, for the people to blame you. No, it was there. We just have to go back to look at for it. So I think it might be a good idea for realtors to be like, hey, here's the to-do list later on to address, whenever you have time.
And that's why we offer all our clients a free home binder. So home binder is a home portal where they could go in there and they have their inspection reports. They have maintenance items that we send them reminders, change your AC filter,
I like that.
Do things like that.
I haven't opened this binder.
And yeah, I could show it to you. And it's like a home maintenance portal that we offer free to all of our clients, that it's a good place to send them reminders and have them go back to that.
Yeah.
Now, regarding your systems, I know you said your systems are everything. Within your systems, do you have any quality control systems that you implement to ensure that your agents and your team are doing everything they need to do?
Yeah, there's a quote. It's inspect what you expect, right? And I would say I've been like sometimes very good at it and sometimes not. At this point, we've restructured a team. We're mainly top producers, so we don't have. But if anyone has any newer producers or like newer realtors that aren't sure, like you definitely have to be inspecting more. And even still with top producers, the market keeps changing on us. Like we were just figuring out like who are the buyers right now, and it's not investors anymore. It used to be investors for many years. Right now, investors aren't buying. So even doesn't matter what it is. Like I think we are gonna sit down and mastermind and collaborate together on how all our listings can be focused on who is the buyer. So with that being said, the system is that you constantly have to be inspecting, and changing things around because the market also keeps changing on us, right? So like the verbiage we used 2 years ago might not be the verbiage to be using right now, especially when most of the market is in a buyer's market. So it's not in a seller's market that we were in 2 years ago. So I think in that aspect, like you constantly have to be inspecting, especially if you have action plans. Be very careful. The verbiage you used about the market has changed. So I would say constantly be inspecting what you expect.
So you don't only build the system and just forget about it. Like some people just buy a car and never change the oil and never change the filters. You are maintaining your system. And that's very important. You mentioned something too, where you said the buyers aren't investors anymore. So who are the buyers today?
Yeah, so on our call this morning, and that's a perk of us as a real estate team at the Opes Group. So we meet twice a week and we mastermind on, obstacles, what we learn. So we're learning at 15 times the rate of everybody else because we're learning from each other. So that was a question we asked today. Who are the buyers? And everybody responded, it's vacation homes for condos. Condos, I'm not talking about houses. So we asked, like right now we have a lot of condo listings. Who are the buyers? And everyone responded vacation homes. So either they want it for themselves or they want it to use and then rent out. So it's now we need to go back there and edit our listings to focus and edit our marketing and edit what we're doing to just focus on that because it's the end user is not moving a lot and in condos and the investor is definitely not buying the condo because there's returns are minimal.
Yes. So it's the vacation homes. People who are buying condos for vacation homes.
Yeah.
Great. Hopefully it moves that condo market, right?
We need it.
And I know that a big complaint that I hear from people when they talk about realtors is the lack of communication. Because the reality is you can't answer the phone when you're having lunch with your client. You can't answer your phone when you're doing a listing presentation, when you're picking up your kids and they're telling you about their day at school, whatever the case may be, right? So how do you build communication so that never happens and your clients are always informed and feel that you and your team have excellent communication?
Great question. So for communication, we have a number that rings to multiple people. That's number one. So like you said, if I can't pick it up, someone else can. And then we also make sure there's weekly emails giving them updates on what is going on. So, the number one complaint a seller says is that they never heard back from their realtor. So we make sure that every Monday there is an email with here is, there was no showings or there was showings. Here's the feedback. This is our marketing effort. So we are providing a weekly email on that aspect. And I think communication is key. People want to talk on the phone. And one of the questions I love to ask in the very first phone call is, what is your preferred method of communication? Because it doesn't matter the age. Everyone has a preferred method. And it's interesting. Some people will tell you it's text message. Others will say it's email. Others will say it's WhatsApp. Others would say it's a phone call. So ask that question because everybody will have a different answer. Don't assume because of an age that they prefer a certain method.
I like that you're reporting to your sellers. I know that in real estate, there's times of silence. So
no, it's not time of silence. We have to say that it's not working.
Yeah, and sometimes like sellers might take your silence as you're not doing anything. And the same thing could happen with buyers. So how do you keep, besides emails, what else do you do to keep your buyers or sellers knowing that you're always working on my deals?
Great question. So our sellers receive a report every week that shows them how many emails, how many views they got online, how many social media views they got online, what are people saying. So they are seeing our marketing efforts. And they could see that every week. There's also a portal. They can log on to see other items as well. But more importantly is they are seeing that every week. So if they want to know, they know where to look. If they don't want to know and they prefer a call, then we'll call them and give them, the summary. But for the most part, they're happy with, that information.
That's good. So you have a portal, you have a CRM, you invested into a system where they could log in and they could see what's happening and get reports. So there, they know that you're consistently working on their listing or with their house they want to buy, etc. Something that I see about you and I admire about you that I see that I know that has to do a lot with how successful you are is that you're big on vetting your vendors. Look, we did exactly 5,888 buyer transactions in 2025.
Nice.
And out of all those buyer transactions, you are the only team leader, broker, etc., that only says, hey, you got to use TruView. Everyone says they just use whoever the buyers want to use, or they give 3, 4, or 5 options, etc. So I've seen that. And then since I see your volume, I see your success, how does vetting vendors, whether it's inspectors, insurance, title, lending, affect your transaction and lead to your success?
Great question. So working with vetted vendors is huge. People work with us because they trust us. So we want to make sure, everyone we're working with is also a trusted person that's going to go above and beyond. Luis, I've called you on a Saturday. I've called you at 9:00 at night on certain weekdays. There's a reason you work with these people, right? Because they already, you have a trusting relationship and you want your client to trust you and make sure that everything's going to be seamless. So like your vendors should be like, the person I trust and best for you is this person. And if I was to give you a recommendation and tell you, listen, the best person for you is, and already glorify the company or glorify the person, that is going to go a lot longer than saying, hey, these are the 10 companies I recommend, because now you're putting more work on that person to have to review all the people, and you're not really giving them, that seamless transaction. Like, people don't want to do 20 other steps. Like, everyone's busy. They don't want to have to research the reviews of 3 different companies and quote out. Now, if they are the type of person that wants to, that's great. That's on them. But I could tell you, most people, if they trust you, they will trust your recommendation. And if you just give one recommendation, they will trust it and go with it. So I think if there's any lesson learned is like, you guys, if you trust a vendor, just recommend them. It will be a seamless transaction for you, for your client, and everyone's happy.
And your vendors also have to meet your core values and be aligned with your core values. So for instance, you talk about speed. I know you're big on speed. We're big on speed. So the moment that your transaction coordinator is sending that email, we're replying back within minutes, getting the inspection scheduled, when most people or most inspectors are inside the attic and they can't answer the phone, etc.
Correct, 100%. And I think you guys need to align it with whatever is part of your business, right? And your core values. So, but you should have a trusted group that helps you create a seamless transaction.
And when the market shifted and things got worse, how did you lean on your systems instead of panicking?
So when the market shifted, the systems is what helps you keep running, right? So what we've had to do is just change our focus, change the plan, but our core values have never changed. Like a lot of our systems haven't changed. We've just had to edit certain things, right? To talk about the market, right? We went from a seller's market, a hot market, to a buyer's market. For example, we had you guys on TruView like to have set inspections on, I remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays, because we couldn't, in a market that was like, hey, we only have a 3-day inspection period, we had to guarantee we had inspections already scheduled when we're getting under contract. So like, that's an example of a market shift, right? Like right now, I don't have any set schedules with you guys. So, but that's an example of like when the market shifted, I was like, how can we make sure it's a seamless transaction? And we used to have 2 appointments with TruView, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 o'clock.
And we've never done that with anyone ever before, only you.
Well, thank you for that. But that was an idea I came up with, right? Like, hey, I can't risk, I'm doing 3-4 day inspections. I can't risk not having an inspection and the same, at that point. So I guess to answer the question, so what have we done? We just adjusted our systems a little based on the market conditions.
And you relied and doubled down on the system that you've built.
Correct,
and you
100%.
said, this foundation that I've built is good enough to weather the storm.
100%.
A lot of people start to panic when the hurricane comes, when the winds come. But you're like, no, I've built a foundation that I know it may shake. Some shingles might fly off, but the house is going nowhere.
We've definitely gone through earthquakes in our business right now. We've had a lot of changes. We've had to change our entire, what I would say, we had to restructure the our focuses and what some of our business models. But like you said, the foundation, the core values, or a lot of the systems, none of those changed.
And so you are finance background. Brain surgery, going through that at 16 years old, doing volume in real estate. If there's one thing a great system builder, but if there's another thing is that you are a phenomenal leader. And I know that you're a phenomenal leader because of the longevity of your agents, how long you've kept them. I've seen agents leave and come back, which shows what a phenomenal leader you are. But something else that talking to you showed me what a great leader you are is that you don't say my agents or my realtors. You say, no, my colleagues.
Yeah.
So,
and depending on who I'm talking to, I'll say my business partners.
Wow.
So, and at the end of the day, we are business partners, right? Like we're all in this business together. So, and in this market right now, talking about systems and stuff, one of the things we've had to do is in most of all our listings, we're collaborating, two of us. Because especially in a condo market, like the condo does not sell itself. We have to sell the building. And you physically have to be there to like sell the building because like, unfortunately, a buyer's agent does not know, is there reserves, a 50-year certification, all the issues, right? Or what's the story? So you have to be there to set the story. So right now, more than ever, like we are working 2 realtors per listing, especially condo listings, because physically we need to be there. And let's be real, the traffic in South Florida keeps getting worse. So I think, we are business partners. We are working together in brainstorming ideas and getting the deal done in all these aspects.
And something else too is that I see in this industry from the outside, because I've been in a lot of offices and I work with a lot of agents, is that people go to a team, go to a brokerage, they park their license there, and they're lone rangers out there. They're lone rangers. They're off doing their own thing. But I've seen successful people and other people that I've had on this podcast that are successful, they're consistently meeting with their team. They're consistently meeting and game planning. So you actually meet twice a week. So you double up what I know most people do. So what is it about meeting twice a week that helps you and your agent's performance?
We are growing at 15 times the speed because we are meeting and talking about the market and talking about what's working, what's not working. If we have an issue, how can we resolve it? Because now you're masterminding with these top producers. So we are running at like 15x compared to everybody else, thanks to us collaborating on a weekly basis. And we also talking about parking licenses, like we've always been very, very picky on who we bring into our team because we are wanting to work with similar abundant mindset, top performers. And, I love bringing in people that like have corporate America background because they already have certain skill sets. And we just have to teach them certain things. And that's how we've built the Opes Group. The Opes Group, majority of everybody was a top professional making 6 figures that joined the team making 0 and now have grown their own business and year over year just keep exceeding their own, volume and their own money into their business. So I think that is very important because the people you surround yourself with is only going to elevate you, right?
Of course,
so if we have an
yes.
underperformer or someone that's negative or something, that's just going to affect everybody else. So we actually interview if any realtor wanted to join our team, when we are in process of wanting to bring in agents, they interview with 3 of the realtors. And the realtors are the ones that decide whether they come in or not.
So you bring your agents in, your colleagues.
My colleagues are the ones that actually, I don't even meet with them. The colleagues meet with them and they decide whether they think they'll be a good fit of someone that they would want to like be with, working alongside. And a lot of times the answer is either yes or no. And whatever the outcome was would be provided to them of, look, unfortunately, we don't think you're going to be a fit. So we have said no to a lot more people than what we've said yes to join the team.
And what is one character trait that is non-negotiable for someone to join your team?
I definitely think mindset, abundant mindset is huge. We need people that are, thinking abundance.
Big thinkers.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. And then a grit is another one. And that's a hard one to kind of determine, but grit is huge. Like to succeed in real estate, you need grit.
Yes.
And that's a hard one to figure out. Like, so you have to kind of get stories out of them to figure out, do these people have the grit to be able to continue?
And I know that you said last year was brutal. You had to make some very tough decisions. For instance, like I had to last year let go of marketing rep in Palm Beach, marketing rep in Fort Lauderdale. I had to make some certain shifts and changes because we were going to real estate offices, visiting offices, doing presentations, but their agents aren't going into the office. And I realized like, okay, what I was doing back then isn't working now. So I had to make a pivot and I had to make a switch. And it's hard to do that, Joanna.
100%.
I remember like that weekend before having to have that conversation with my team members, I couldn't sleep. I was a wreck. So I know you've had to let go of some close people and you went through that. How do you do that without losing your heart and losing yourself?
It's hard. I ended up in the hospital twice.
Wow.
So the stress was another level. And I think that's what, there's a comment that someone told me, the higher up you go, the lonelier it gets. And I get it because like, those are hard. It's hard. Like I had to let go of family. Like it broke my heart. Like I had to let go of friends that I've, worked with me for 10 years of, people that have been loyal for over, 10 years. Like it hurts. And we're human for all, I'm not very emotional, but like I'm human and I cry and, and it was very hard. So how do you keep going? And there's a great story that someone once shared with me and it's about a rocket. And for a rocket to go into space, as it goes up, it needs to shed certain pieces. And not everyone can handle the pressure. And then the rocket has to get thinner. And the rocket, looks differently because either people will have to get off because they can't handle the pressure, or it's just they're not in line with where the rocket wants to go. And I think that's business, right? We're rocket ships and we have to keep going up because if the rocket's going down, the business is going to die, right?
Yes.
So as a business owner, we're constantly on a rocket that needs to go up, but it's not always straight up. It sometimes goes down and then you need to get it to go back up, right?
Yes.
And as the rocket moves, we need to shed different pieces and shed different, sometimes it's people and sometimes it's things and sometimes it's processes. So I think we need to think in terms of a rocket ships of, sometimes there's changes that we're not always aligned to, but overall the value and the goal has never changed. And I'm sure that's how you felt with your business, right? Your core value and your goal didn't change just because we had to change other parts about it.
Well, that was powerful. The rocket ship analogy, right? As it goes up, it starts shedding pieces and people can't handle the pressure and they have to get out. And I think that as a business owner, one of your biggest strengths needs to be your ability to adjust and make strong decisions and make difficult decisions when other people aren't able to do so. Yeah. And it shows, Joanna, and it shows in your success. And I know you and I know the type of person you are. And something else that I see is that you lead with transparency instead of fear. And how is it that you're able to lead with transparency and not fear? Because a lot of times people take your leadership as fear. Oh my gosh, the boss. No, they have power over me. But you lead with transparency. How is it that you do that?
Yeah. How do I lead with transparency? I don't know. I guess I'm very blunt. So I just say what it is. And like, I just don't, I don't have time or like to be hiding things so I've always been, if I win, the team behind me wins. If I'm losing, then the team behind me has to understand that like, hey, we need to figure this out or adapt or have patience with me. And I think that's why people have that I've worked with have always trusted me for so long, because I've always been very transparent on the business. And when we've won, like they've all also received, more income.
That's an important mindset.
And, we've gotten on great trips. And when things haven't been good, people have had patience because like, we're trying to figure out a solution versus, like, let's just fire or just let go. So we're still trying to do something with what we have. And I think it goes a long way and people really respect that because they understand like, hey, the rocket ship goes up and it goes down, right? And I think anyone in real estate has seen, the cyclical real estate patterns we've been in and they haven't been easy for anyone that's tied to real estate.
And are you transparent with your numbers with your team?
Yeah, 100%. So, everyone that worked with me, we would meet once a week, and they would see all the money coming in and the money coming out. The realtors, now we're not doing that as much. So with realtors, it's always been very transparent on what is going on. So not to like the expenses and stuff, but what's going on. And they obviously, I share like, hey, I'm negative. Like I just lost like 100 grand in the last year from what we were saying, right? Waiting to see what do we do with the market shift. So like they know that. So they know that I have a lot of skin in the game, and they know that like I've lost a ton of money right now with the team and trying to make things work. So I think that transparency goes a long way, because there isn't a lot of money in the team's aspect. And I think that's the biggest problem, that a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be a team leader because there's all this money. And there really isn't. The margins are so slim. Yet you're like running practically a whole, all this infrastructure of all these overheads. Like I know a bunch, like the costs add up really fast.
Yep.
So you need to be very careful. And everyone in the team and the Opes Group knows that. So like they know it takes money. They know, we've had, downward pressure in the last few years. So I think because they know all of that, there's a lot of respect in terms of like what, it's not that I'm here making a ton.
Of course, yeah. And I think that transparency is important too, showing what's coming out and showing how much you're spending in order to be able to attain those leads.
Yeah.
Because people sometimes they don't understand that and don't have a clue. So you are volume queen, system builder, a transparent leader, but you're also a mom and a wife. So tell me how being present at home looks like with everything you have on your plate.
How does being present at home work, right? When you're running, a career. And I think it's important for everyone, no matter if you're in real estate or not, like you focus on what you enjoy with your children. I think it's important for you to also like, you have to show up, right? So you want to make sure you're showing up good. So you need to make sure you have gas and that you're happy, and then you're going to show up at home happy, right? So if that means you go to the gym, if that means you need a trip alone with your friends or your husband, like do it. It's okay. Your kids don't have to be in every aspect of like you fueling up your spirits. And then spending time with your children. I personally am a believer that I rather spend time with them in the things I enjoy doing with them, where we're going to like, have fun together, collaborate. I don't enjoy some things at home so I have somebody that comes in and helps, at my house in certain aspects. So I think everyone needs to figure out what it is. So if you don't enjoy cooking, get a cook or bring in food. If you don't enjoy cleaning, then, whatever it is at home that you don't enjoy doing it, outsource it or find a solution, because like we don't have a lot of time to spend with our kids while they're at home and still little. And I want to make sure like, and we've been focused on like spending more and more time with them, quality time. So that's why I stopped working Saturdays. Like good. I used to work every Saturday. I don't work Saturdays anymore. And now granted, here in a blue moon, I have to do something on a weekend. But my goal is that for the next few years, like the weekends belong to my children.
And I'm seeing that you're getting people to help you pick up tasks, because next thing you know, you come home and you might be there 100% of the time, but you're here only 50%, and your kids need more of you.
Yeah.
And I know that you and your husband pre-plan your year. I see that. I think that's huge. Tell me what pre-planning your year looks like.
So there's this thing called the big ass calendar.
The big ass calendar.
It was actually Jesse Itzler who invented it. And so we practically get together and spend a few hours and we plan the whole year. So this looks like, okay, what are the big trips? What are the trips we're gonna do with the children? What's the trip we're gonna do just him and I? And then we also have, okay, do we wanna always do like experiences or something different with the kids? So when are we putting that? And that's in the calendar already in this. So we're planning this in December, January for the whole year when we're doing everything. And then in addition, there's something that you do an experience once every 12 weeks, something different. So think of like a heat game. We've done taking them fishing. So things like a different experience that'll be fun, adventurous. And you already pre-plan that in the calendar for the whole year. So that is what we do. It's called the Big Ass Calendar. I highly recommend it, especially for a household where there's a lot of traveling or there's a lot of, how do we get our things in order or how do we still unite as a family? I would highly recommend the Big Ass Calendar.
My coach told me, one of the first things he told me was, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And the truth is that when you're pre-planning your year like that and pre-planning your trips, you're even getting better deals on your trips and when you're planning in advance and things like that.
Well,
So,
Luis, I'll tell you a little secret. The truth is now everyone's on my schedule because a girls' trip, I'm like, well, this is the weekend of the girls' trip. And then now I'm planning it in 10 months ahead. No, everyone's calendar is empty in 10 months from now. So no one's saying they have something, right? So like, that's the real big thing. Like if you are planning something, they're planning it now on your schedule because you're already dictating it so early in advance.
And sometimes a year just passes by and nothing ever gets done.
Correct.
Now, what are 2 to 3 values with your kids that you will never compromise on?
What are values with my kids that I won't compromise on? So right now, I think respect is huge. Like I'm making sure, someone said good morning today and he didn't respond. And I'm like, why didn't you say good morning back and look at him in the eye? So like, I think respect is huge and it starts at a very young age. And I think also one of the other values we're focused on is, being humble. Like I want to make sure, my kids know how to grow and be a good citizen to this world, but also like come from humble beginnings, even though, you know what I mean? Like you have a lot, they're growing up with way more than what we grew up with. Right. So I want to make sure they still have that in them. And, so those are 2 values that I would say are important for me right now.
Yeah, they're similar. Like mine is their faith in Jesus. He's my backbone and my strength, and I'm here today because of his grace, and I want them to continue with that. So I need to make sure that I lead by example. Something else also too is hard work. I always tell my kids every day, and that's why we do martial arts together. It's like when things get hard, you work harder. So sometimes we're just driving in the car and I just start saying, when things get hard, they say, we work harder. And we sound like maniacs, But I instill that rah in them. And then respect, like the good morning. Sometimes you go, good morning. And then my 14-year-old teenager is like, and I'm like, what? And no. Good morning. And when someone says hi to them, my younger one is more timid. And they're like, good morning. Good morning. No, Zoe, look at them in the eye and say good morning. So parents feel guilty about hiring help. Personally, like there are things I don't want to do, like clean my daughter's room, tutoring. Joanna, you think I want to grab in there and start helping her do her homework and stuff? No way, I am not a teacher. So what could you tell parents that feel guilty about hiring help and thinking that they have to do everything for their kids?
Great question. So my recommendation to parents is like, you are going to be so stressed out in that 1 hour of tutoring. And now your tension with your child is getting tense. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't that make sense to outsource it? So your time with your child is of happiness and not of stress. And I think that goes with every other part of life, right? So if you don't enjoy cleaning the house and you're going to be stressed out while cleaning, wouldn't it make more sense that you're in a positive, happy space with your child and then you outsource that part that causes the stress or causes the tension? And I think that's all aspects of life. And like I said, even ourselves, there's right now, I guess, I don't know if it's a thing trending on Instagram because I saw a few friends post, but it's important for a mom and dad to take trips on their own. And it's shocking to me how many people don't have a trip with their significant other, because if your kids don't see you guys doing things and having friends and doing things as a couple, then how do you expect them to mirror like what relationship is with them, their partner relationship is with their friends? So kids mirror us. So if you want your child to be in a healthy relationship, they should see mom and dad going on dates or mom and dad taking a trip together, or they should see mom and dad having friends. And, it's okay for mom to have friends and dad to have friends. So I think it's really important for us to remember, yes, you want to be a good parent, but we also have to make sure that our cup is full, and our cup is full looks different to everybody. And
you got to be a good parent by being a great husband and wife, because that's what your kids need to see and need a model. And the thing about the trips, I see it too. Like next week, me and my wife are going on a trip alone.
Good.
And we're doing it because we already did 2 winter vacations with the kids. We are fed up with the kids. It's time to go to Mexico and relax for a few days, right? Yeah. And have alone time with each other for our anniversary.
Good. I love it. Well, yeah. I go tomorrow. We're going to Puerto Rico.
Oh, nice.
So look at that. We're both living what we're recommending. We're both literally doing what we're suggesting. So it's not just talking, it's actually doing it. So it's so important.
And you see it with the people that we bring on this podcast. Like I notice it, and something that blows my mind is just how many values or things or beliefs are so aligned of people who are being successful. So in this podcast, what I love and my passion about this is that I've been through a struggle. I've been through so much in life. Yeah. And people just go and they see someone where they're at today and they think like, oh, they have a perfect life. And they don't know what we've been through. Yeah. And it's the process and the struggle that makes you who you are today and the things that you learn along the road and the journey. And it's a setbacks in life that propels you to move forward and gives you the drive. Because you could either use your issues as a bench or a seat to stall you, or you could use it as a rocket ship to propel you.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I say in life, you could either be a victim or a victor. And I refuse to be a victim. I want to be a victor. And, you know, when we talk through this podcast, we talk about the struggle and we bring people's struggle, their story to show them who they are today and humanize them to see that no matter what you're going through in life, you could be successful like Joanna. You could be like Joanna. You could make it the same way that she did. Nothing could ever stop you as long as you work hard and believe in yourself. And believing in yourself is huge.
Yeah.
But I always love to land it with family because I don't care how successful you are in your business. I don't care how big you are, how famous you are, how many followers you have on Instagram. If you're not winning at home, you failed in life because your children and your marriage are a gift from God. And your children are the legacy that you will leave behind. And that is going to change for generations. What I'm doing today is not for me. It's to build generational wealth with my kids and generational values that they will have forever. And I know that because I don't want my kids to go through the struggle that I went through.
100%.
And I know how hard it is to go through things in life. Like I'm divorced, I'm remarried. I have a beautiful family. We're a blended family, but we're a beautiful blended family. So my road hasn't been perfect, but I believe in marriage and I believe in my children and I believe in family and I fight for my children. And my parents were great parents to me. And I like to align myself with people that are like-minded. And everyone who comes on this podcast always has that same belief because that's something that we want to instill into our community.
100%. I love it.
So we're going to get into some rapid fire.
Okay.
Quick, one-hitter answers. I love this part. Okay. Now, is speed a personality trait or skill you've learned to harness over time?
A skill.
A skill. For me, I think it's a personality trait.
No, I think it's a skill. I think you could build it.
I've always been like, tú eres un desesperado. Oh, it works to my biggest strength. I remember my mom telling that when I was young. One system you'd steal if you were a new agent tomorrow.
Oh my, I would just work with a top producer and like learn what they learn from them. Take time.
So many people want to skip the process and be at the top without putting in the work.
No.
Before you lead, you got to serve.
Correct. And I think it's like the iceberg, right? Like it's years to get to like a certain level, right? It's not overnight. And I think if you can work with somebody that's already there and learn from them, you're only going to go so much faster.
I agree. Most underrated skill in real estate?
I guess I would say communication, like it's so important.
Being a therapist? Biggest time waster agents don't realize is killing them?
Yeah, their lack of speed.
Overthinking, right?
Yeah, overthinking, 100%.
Best client communication line you use when nothing is happening? When it's cricket, silence.
I thought of you. Just thought of you.
Or, hey, this here reminded me of you. Yeah. What I like to do is if I see something that reminds me of that person, I take a picture of it and send it to them.
There you go. I like that one even more. Yeah, and sometimes you do think of clients and stuff because something happens and stuff. But at that moment, I'm not going to be like, oh, I just thought of you, So maybe I'll be like, okay, hey, I did think of you in that scenario. And which is true, I just didn't send it at the time.
One leadership lesson you learned the hard way?
Oh my God, I would say check your books more often. That's been my hardest lesson learned. Like run the numbers more often. I regret, like I've lost so much money because of that.
Oh, I know. Miami spot you take clients when you want them to remember you?
LPM.
LPM, what's that?
Le Petit Maison. It's my favorite restaurant in Brickell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a French-Italian. But it's a great experience. And like you sit down and there's a tomato on the table and a lemon. So like they have to cut their tomato and lemon. And it's a high-end restaurant, but they have, it's a great experience. Anyhow, great food. So I love taking clients there.
I want you to tell me about that. I want to take my wife there.
Yeah, it's my favorite restaurant in Miami.
Joanna, I love spending this time with you, getting to know you. I've known you for so many years, but I learned so much about you in this podcast. And I think you are amazing. I love how you're well-balanced and rounded. in everything, in your success, in how you handle volume, in your speed, in your leadership, in your family. And you're an example to our real estate community. And that's why you're a leader in this industry. I thank you for being on this TruTalk podcast. And before we finish, just a couple more questions. Where can people connect with you?
So Luis, thank you very much for the kind words. So I would say you can text me, you can call me. Instagram is probably my go-to of social media. I do check my emails, the Compass email, but text or Instagram is fine.
And we'll put your information here on the screen so that
Perfect.
people could connect with you. And the last questions, and we're close with this. Okay, and I love asking this question. What's the best advice you've ever heard or gotten?
Rich people make quick decisions.
Oh, wow. I thought the opposite.
Really rich people. And that's the reason a lot of realtors will say they rather work with like a high net worth individuals, because they make quick decisions and it's okay. Some they're going to win, some they're going to lose. But I think that's the difference between the really rich and the not.
You've heard it. Rich people make quick decisions. This is TruTalks, where business meets real life. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.